Hi and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. It's Crystal and it's June 1st, which means happy Pride, happy June, and it's officially the first start of the Tarot Readathon, my first Readathon, and I'm so excited. In fact, I was so excited that on the 27th of May, I did my first three card spread and picked my books out, and I was itching to read, but instead of doing that, and as more library holds were coming in, I ended up a few days later doing two more 3-card spreads. So total, I have 9 books picked out already. And I actually did start reading at about 12:30 last night before bed. I got a couple of hours in. I was just, I'm feeling the excitement in the air for this readathon. Um, it's a happy time, and I love the excuse to pull out my tarot cards when I haven't done that in a couple of years. Not seriously, anyway. And yeah, it's just fun. This is something that I normally wouldn't do because I'm such a huge mood reader. I'm just like, okay, what's available at the library? Let's go. Sometimes that works out for me, sometimes it doesn't. So this is going to be fun actually picking books to match up to the prompts. And I'm so glad that I have Libby available and that my library has a really good selection for such a small town as it is. And because otherwise I would not be able to do this. So for the new ones that I picked off camera, we got 10 of Cups, read a book featuring found family, belonging, or strong community. I picked System Collapse by Martha Wells. It's the next in the Murderbot Diaries, and thankfully my library has it now. It didn't for the longest time. Then we pulled Knight of Cups, which is read a book with a character going through emotional turmoil. I have tentatively picked Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross for this because I read that, it's in the midst of war and she's dealing with a lot of grief from losing her brother, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that'll be emotional I think she's going through emotional turmoil due to that. And then we picked The High Priestess, read a book with a mystery element. And this time the recommender was my friend's mom. She said she gave The Return of Ellie Black 5 stars. So next we pulled Three of Cups, which is read a book featuring friendship. And I am using Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig for that. It's about a group of 5 friends go camping in the woods. They find a staircase that leads up to nowhere. They go up it, and only 4 come down. And this is also dealing with, how many years later, and the friend group is fractured. But they all get together one last time in person, and there's a second staircase. So next we pulled The Moon, which is read a book featuring the paranormal, vampires, werewolves, witches, etc. I love this one. I have so many books that could fit this prompt. Tentatively, I did go with a library read instead of one of my own collection. That would be a reread. And I did The X-Hex by Erin Sterling. It's about this witch who puts a hex on her ex. And then for Queen of Cups, read a book that you think will move you or make you emotional. And I was recommended the Fourth Wing series, and I've heard a lot of people cry during Onyx Storm, and I don't know. I guess it depends on how into the story I am this time around, but that's the third in the Empyrean series. It's Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and now Onyx Storm, and I haven't read it yet, but it might be my time for the readathon to do it. So next, another way to win for the Tarot Readathon, they've got the Hero's Journey challenges. One of them is to be the villager, where you go through and you spend some time with some new to you content creators, whether they're a participant or a host in the Tarot Readathon. So in the Discord, there's a channel called Share Your Content, and I've just been scrolling through, and anyone who posts their TBRs and anyone who posts their videos for the Tarot Readathon, I've been adding to my watch later list. I've already visited a couple of them, so that's great. And I'll be doing that throughout the whole month, not just when I took that challenge off. And the next way to win, or, one of the next challenges is to pull a daily tarot card. And I think that would be so fun. I've got my cards here. I've also got some oracle cards that I want to pull, and let's pull these together. Let's go. one just jumped right out at me. We got 8 of Pentacles, and this card says practice. So this next is a moon oracle deck, so it's all about moon phases. Ooh, that jumped out. I like taking jumpers. Communication is key. New moon in Gemini. So that's that card. I love it. This week I will definitely, and even later today, maybe I'll go on a walk. Maybe that's what I do, or I do some journaling. Those are 2 other prompts. Either the walk without any, going for a walk or sitting in nature without any headphones, no electronics, no distractions. That's one of the prompts you can get points for. And another one is to pause and reflect on your energy and journaling or talking it out about that. So I think I'll do one of those 2 today. Maybe. I don't know. I have quite a bit of a drive to go to the store today. And I'm debating taking my headphones to the store so I can listen to a book while I shop. But I might get overstimulated doing that. So I don't know if that's the best idea, but I'm just so excited to read. I love reading. So it's June 2nd. I almost said May. Oops. It's June 2nd. Quick recap. After I went to the grocery store and came back yesterday on not a whole lot of sleep, I was just so tired that I couldn't make myself get out there and go for a walk. I would not have enjoyed it, so I didn't get that done like I thought I would have. However, I did sit for a bit and journal, so I got that done and submitted. So far I've got 2 of the side quests done and submitted out of, I think, 5. Yeah. I've got the Be the Villager, which is spend some time exploring content from new to you creators, which I will keep doing that throughout the Readathon, even though it's already submitted. And then I did the Hermit Era, which is pause and reflect on your energy and journal, voice memo, or talk it out with someone. And I journaled. So I did those 2. Yesterday I submitted my daily tarot. I have yet to do that today, but we'll pull those cards together. And I couldn't go out on a walk because I just wasn't feeling it, but I did lock in and read. I even joined up Deja's Book World. She was doing a big reading sprint with a few other of the hosts on the panel, and so I joined for some reading sprints, and we actually finished 2 books yesterday, 2 of my shorter ones. I did Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. It was 337 pages, and to recap, I enjoyed it, but not as much as Legends and Lattes. I feel like with this being a prequel to that, it was a little jarring going from the Viv of Legends and Lattes, where Viv is done of the mercenary life and she wants to settle down and start a cozy coffee shop and find a place where she belongs. Whereas in Bookshops and Bone Dust, this is taking place before that. It's kind of the beginning of Viv's mercenary career, and Viv is sidelined with an injury, and she just wants to get back out there and join up with her crew, doesn't want her crew to leave her. So she's itching to get back into the fighting, and it was nice seeing where some of the origins for like her sword or Galena came from. But I missed the cozy aspect of Legends and Lattes. It was a little jarring going from that Viv to this one. However, the epilogue brought it right back. We got a little epilogue from the Legends and Lattes Viv, and I loved seeing that little slice of life moment of the Viv we know and love. So I did like that, and then I finished, for 248 pages, I finished System Collapse by Martha Wells. It is the next in the Murderbot Diaries, and I believe of the ones that are out, I have one more to go. And I enjoyed System Collapse, but I feel like Network Effect was such a 5-star for me, and System Collapse didn't quite hit the same. It dealt with more of Murderbot's PTSD and its trauma response and going through that and not really having a name for it, but trying to figure out what's wrong. And it was more mental. The conflict was more mental instead of action. However, there was quite a bit of action at the end in the last 20% of it. But I enjoyed it overall, but I think Network Effect was still, it didn't beat that 5-star feeling from that for me. So those are the 2 that I finished of the 9 that I've pulled so far. 2 of my shortest books on the list. I think there's 4 more that are in the 300s, 1 that's in the 400s, and then I have 2 that are in the 700s. So I'm definitely, it's easier to knock out the shorter ones. I have started Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. I am 26 to 27% of the way through, and I love Chuck Wendig's writing. He writes messy characters. His description and his setting is very atmospheric. It's spooky. I'm loving it. So I think of the ones that are on I've started When the Moon Hatched, but I'm only a few pages in, or a few chapters in. I'm not even 10%, but it's a chonker. That one is 718 pages. So I think in between some shorter reads, because I like to bounce around in my reading. I don't like to just sit and focus on one thing unless it really grips me. I like bouncing around different things. So I think I'll continue chipping away at When the Moon Hatched, but the big focus, I believe, for me today will be Staircase in the Woods, unless the mood takes me somewhere else and something just grips me. I think those two are going to be the ones that I'm working on next. Although at some point I do want to crack into the Mysterious Benedict Society because I have the physical copy. Everything else is purely library reads. But I do own the physical copy of the Mysterious Benedict Society. So depends on if the weather's okay, because we're back to the hundreds in the temperature. I might sit outside and read a little bit. I might save that for another day. It depends. So I guess those are kind of my three options. I did read the prologue of the X-Hex, and I enjoyed the prologue, so that one might sneak in there as well, just to break up some of the heavier reads. The X-Hex is actually my current shortest read that I have yet to read. That's only 318 pages, so that one might end up surprising me and sneak up higher on the list. Pick one from the middle. What's that say? Nothing is yet set in stone. That's a beautiful card. Ooh, the Chariot motion. I love this card. There are blooms at the top of that one. Good morning on June 3rd. I finished 2 books yesterday. I did nothing but read. I did watch a Tarot Readathon video yesterday while I was having lunch, so I did that and commented. But other than that, I just spent the day reading, and it was a glorious day. I did take my walk, though. I have some clips from that. It was a beautiful sunset walk. A little weird to be going on my own without any headphones and no puppies with me and no other humans. It was truly just me alone with the cactus and the birds. But it was nice. It was good to get out there, and it wasn't too hot because it was an evening sunset walk. But so that was nice to do that and get that ticked off the tracker, the Hero's Journey challenge list. And the 2 books I finished, they both just drew me in. The X-Hex by Erin Sterling, who I believe is the pen name for Rachel Hawkins, I think. It was so fun. It was light, even though there was a spooky little hex happening that was kind of preying on the magic of the town. It was cute. It was a great palate cleanser that in between the chapters of some of these other darker books, I think of the 5 remaining, 4 of them have darker themes than the other one. So that's gonna be interesting for me mentally. And then Staircase in the Woods, loved it. It was so close to being a 5. There was something that was not quite. Yeah, I think I wished for a tiny little bit more. How did I put it? I wish there was a tiny little bit more clarity at the end for another character. And there was a little bit of repetition and whatnot in the book, but I loved the spooky, creepy atmosphere of the house labyrinth and the mental upheaval that these characters were going through, that they had to break down in themselves in order to heal. and escape the house. And it was just, the setting was just, there were twists that I didn't expect. And I don't know, I've been really enjoying the Labyrinth um, type books lately. Well, two of the three that I've read lately I've enjoyed. And this was definitely one of them. I love Chuck Wendig's writing. I follow his blog. I followed it since I was a teenager. And I've kept up with Chuck Wendig for many years. So I will love, I will probably love whatever he puts out. He's got a new one coming out, I think, either this year or early next. I'm so excited for it. Jumper! It's time to take action. New moon in Aries. A couple of them want to just fall, but I only want one. That one. Ooh, Hope, the star. That's a really pretty card. I do like these. Good morning, it's June 4th, and I was able to finish another 2 of my books last night. Let's talk about Divine Rivals first, because wow, I went into that not thinking that I would like it, because, you know, workplace rival romance about 2 journalists. You know, how interesting could that be? But they turn out to be war correspondents, and that story is achingly devastating. The relationship between Roman and Iris was beautiful. I love how they didn't truly argue with one another about their decisions. They let each other have agency, and they simply said, where you go, I go. And just some of the things that Roman does, the way he chases after Iris, he puts himself in between danger and her, and there's one scene where he was literally bloody and beaten and crawling towards her, and it was just, I wept. Oh my god. And then, first card of the day, confidence is the key to your success. And then When the Moon Hatched was one of the books that was over 700 pages. So I've been slowly chipping away at it, and I finally finished it. I think about I think at about 25%, that book got it picked up for me. I was more interested in it, and then I was able to fly through it a little more, because I could just listen to big chunks at a time with that one. I was liking where it was going, but then it feels like the plot had so much potential, and it just kind of stalled. The 2 characters are just... Khan was okay, except he was, you know, big macho warrior man with the sensitive side. Yeah, we've seen that before, right? Mr. King, who everyone thinks is cruel, but he's secretly got a beautiful city. We've seen that before. There are a dime a dozen in the romantasy world. But I felt like the dragons and the creatures and everything in it, one, there was just all these new names that were so confusing to keep track of what was what. All these new creatures and stuff, but in essence, they were dragons. And they felt like glorified taxis. You know, none of them really did anything cool other than shepherd people around. So that was And then Rave annoyed me because she was so intent on not remembering any of her past, even though everyone's like, we've got important stuff to tell you, you need to know this. And she's like, no, I don't want to know. I want to throw all my emotions away in a frozen lake at the center of me, so I don't have to look at them. And she was just really annoying. I feel like she didn't grow at all. And I think she was a character set up meant to be edgy for edginess sake. So When the Moon Hatched, it had so much potential, but at the end of the day, I just felt like it was pretty cookie cutter. It's like it didn't really do anything new, in my opinion, from what I've read before. We got 2 today. 7 of Wands and the Chariot again. So, quick check-in, still on day 4. I finished The Return of Ellie Black, and there were some revelations that I didn't see coming. It's hard saying it's an enjoyable read when the subject matter is so dark. Definitely check any trigger warnings there before you jump into a book like that. But it was interesting. It kept my interest up trying to figure out what happened and why and who throughout all of it. So that was good. I am almost halfway through the Mysterious Benedict Society, and this has been so fun. The card I pulled this for was for a childhood favorite or nostalgic read, and it definitely is that. It's just, it doesn't feel too young reading it. It does bring back the nostalgia though. So I am still really enjoying that. So really, I just have the Mysterious Benedict Society and Onyx Storm, and then I'll get to pull new cards for new prompts. Another fun update is my new tarot deck got here, so I'll get to use that tomorrow. So I am that far through the Mysterious Benedict Society. I'd say I have 75 or so pages left. I think it's 74, but it's June 5th, and I've got my Oracle cards and my new tarot deck today. I figured we'd break those out. So, and then for Onyx Storm, I have like 630 something pages left. Let's pull that one. It says, work through your fears. Ooh. That's a big chunk, but let's just take the one on top. The Six of Wands. Look how pretty. And then, just for fun, let's go ahead and look at the others that jumped out, or that flipped over. The Star, that's a pretty card. Temperance. Ooh. The Devil. Ace of Swords, I really like that card. Two of Swords. Ooh, Three of Swords, I really like that card too. Good morning, so it's day 6 of our, hi baby, tarot readathon. Yesterday I finished the Mysterious Benedict Society, and I loved it just as much as I loved it as a kid. I cried. There were a couple of things that I remembered from as a child, but there were a couple of things that I'd forgotten that still took me by surprise, and I loved it. It was such a sweet story. And I have about 474 pages left of Onyx Storm, but I needed a couple of smaller reads to break up that chunkier one, so I did another 3-card spread yesterday, and we got the Four of Wands, which is read a book that features a celebratory event such as a wedding, party, or festival. And for that, I chose The Wedding People. It's a beautiful day in Newport, Rhode Island, when Phoebe Stone arrives at the Grand Cornwall Inn, wearing a green dress and gold heels, without luggage, alone. Everyone in the lobby mistakes her for one of the wedding people at an impending wedding on the site, but she's actually the only guest at the Cornwall who isn't there for the big event. Phoebe is there because she's dreamed of coming for years. She hoped to shuck oysters and take sunset sails with her husband, only now she's here without him. At rock bottom, and determined to have one last decadent splurge on herself. Meanwhile, the bride has accounted for every detail and every possible disaster the weekend might yield except for, well, Phoebe and Phoebe's plan, which makes it that much more surprising when the two women can't stop confiding in each other. And then so that was for the Four of Wands. For the Three of Wands, it says read a book set somewhere you've never been. So I chose Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. It's number 2 in the Ernest Cunningham series. When the Australian Mystery Writers Society invited me to their crime writing festival aboard the Gone, the famous train between Darwin and Adelaide, I was hoping for some inspiration for my second book, fiction this time. I needed a break from real people killing each other. Obviously, that didn't pan out. The program is a who's who of crime writing royalty. The debut writer, me, the forensic science writer, the blockbuster writer, the legal thriller writer, the literary writer, the psychological suspense writer. But when one of us is murdered, the remaining authors quickly turn into 5 detectives. Together, we should know how to solve a crime. Of course, we should also know how to commit one. How can you find a killer when all the suspects know how to get away with murder? And then the third prompt that we pulled was the death card. Read a book that explores transformation or reinvention. And I didn't have any in my personal recommendations from my friend or her mom, so I went to the Discord to ask. And the book that I chose from those recommendations was Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. Vern, 7 months pregnant and desperate to escape the strict religious compound where she was raised, flees for the shelter of the woods. There she gives birth to twins and plans to raise them far from the influence of the outside world. But even in the forest, Vern is a hunted woman. Forced to fight back against the community that refuses to let her go, she unleashes incredible brutality far beyond what a person should be capable of, her body racked by inexplicable and uncanny changes. To understand her metamorphosis and to protect her small family, Vern has to face the past, and more troublingly, the future, outside the woods. Finding the truth will mean uncovering the secrets of the compound she fled, but also the violent history in America that produced it. Rivers Solomon's Sorrowland is a genre-bending work of Gothic fiction. Here, monsters aren't just individuals, but entire nations. This is a searing, seminal book that marks the arrival of a bold, unignorable voice in American fiction. Work Through Your Fears. We've seen that one. And Prosperity Lies Ahead. I think next week I'll go back to my other deck for the Daily Tarot, but for right now, since this one's a new deck, I want to use it as much as I can. Ooh, that one wants to jump up. Card is 8 of Discs, which is 8 of Pentacles. Because discs are pentacles in this deck. Those are my 3 cards for today's Daily Tarot. Hi, baby. No, don't lick that, don't lick that, don't lick that. Good morning, it's this... Oh, hi. It's day 7 of the Tarot Readathon. I was able to finish 10 books this week so far. I finished Sorrowland and Onyx Storm both yesterday. Sorrowland was it was a very, very good book. There's some body fungus horror in there. There was religious horror. It was very racially charged. I highly enjoyed it. I do recommend that. And I think that was River Solomon's debut. It's amazing. Another really popular River Solomon book that I've heard about that I want to get into now that I've read this one is Model Home. So hopefully, when I do a card draw this month, hopefully I can fit that somewhere on the TBR. And then Onyx Storm, I read that for the prompt, a book that you think will move you or make you emotional, and it's the third in a series. The first one was Fourth Wing, the second was Iron Flame, and then this one was Onyx Storm. And in previous books, I have cried, especially in the first one. There was this point where I bawled my eyes out, and I think that's a universal experience from almost everyone that reads that. However, this time around, I didn't give an iota of a damn about any of the characters. I don't know. It's not like there were a ton of new characters from that were introduced this time because, stop it, don't wrestle. No. Because a lot of them were in Iron Flame. There was something about it that didn't hit this time around. Izzy, stop, baby. So I was a little disappointed. Like, it was a fine book. It was okay, but overall I think I was a little disappointed. And then I don't know how much reading I'll get done today because I am going to go ahead and, start editing in order to get this up by Wednesday of next week. However, 10 books in a week is amazing, but that is also my highly competitive side slipping out. Real quick, let's see what that amounts up to. I'm 100 pages into The Wedding People, but that doesn't count. I'm only counting completed books in my stats. So far, of the 10 books that I've read, 6 of them fit our weekly challenge for this week. We'll get a new one tomorrow, and we'll get a new weekly team challenge tomorrow. So that's awesome. I got 6 points for that. I completed 4 of the hero... Stop, baby. I completed 4 of the Hero's Journey Challenge for 40 points. There's 1 left that I can do for 10 more points. And then after today will be my 7th Days of Tarot. Stop. Don't wrestle. No. After today will be my 7th day of tarot, so that will be 7 extra points. And then total, I've read 4,245 pages, with 3 bonus books, or three books counted for the bonus points because they were recommended by a friend to me. So that's 2,166 bonus points for a total of 6,411 pages for our Path of Pages spread. So hopefully that helps in our team leaderboard. I don't know when, but I think at some point we'll see which team is in the lead. But I'm rooting for cups. I'm doing my best to get those pages in. So let's go. Our daily tarot. I'm just going to pick one. Nothing is yet set in stone. There's that one. They're grumpy because they just woke up. Okay. And let's go with this one. Feels right. Ooh. 8 of Wands. So, I'm going to go ahead and end out this video here. It's been a fun week so far. I've really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see what next week's challenge card will be and get into more of my TBR. Thank you. And I'm having really fun with this tarot readathon.